Hey everyone, it's James George with Create a Beacon again, and this week I'm going to show you how to apply multiple strokes to text or any other object inside of Photoshop. So let's say you have some text here, and I just typed in a basic message: "Design is life is design," sort of like a back and forth kind of thing. And I put that on a charcoal background. I'm going to change the text to maybe something like Pacifico or something like that. Just give it some flair, I guess. Or we could even do lobster. We'll decide which one's better. Yeah, I like Pacifico better. So you have life is design or design is life is design. And so let's say you want to add a stroke to it. It's really simple. You just double click and add a stroke. And let's say we want to make this red. We'll do like a deep red. Okay. And 3 pixels is fine, and outside is good. You can either choose outside, inside, or center. I like outside by default because it keeps the structure of your text intact, because the stroke itself doesn't go in on your text and thin it out. You can see how it was thinning it out, and it just, it doesn't look good. So we'll go ahead and that looks good. And one thing I'm going to do is give it a little, spread it out just a little bit. Okay. So you have your stroke applied. You only have one stroke. So where do you go from here? Because you want your text to still be editable. Because if you've ever been in a situation like I have where a client will change their mind, the last thing you want to do is have to do something over again. So that's where smart objects come into play. So we're going to right click on this layer and say convert to smart object. So when you double click on this, you get a temporary Photoshop file, and you can still edit the text like normal. Since I'm not changing that, I'm not going to do anything with it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to double click the layer over here and add another stroke. So on the outside of this, I'm going to add a white stroke. Okay, and I don't want this one to be so thick because it's starting to get a little much. So we'll add a 1 pixel stroke, and you could even do a gradient if you wanted to. So you have a sort of sheen, and I'm going to take this from black to gray. You could imagine the effects that you could create with this and change the angle. Hit OK. And so you're like, okay, well, you've made this a smart object, so what now? Well, you can do this again. If you just right click on the layer, convert to smart object, you can do it again. So then you can go back in, do another stroke, change this back to the red that we originally did. I think it was actually deeper than that. Yeah, okay. Make sure it's on the outside. Lower it to about 1 pixel's fine, and hit OK. And so that's how you create multiple strokes inside of Photoshop. You can keep going theoretically as long as you want to. One issue you want to take note of is where letters tend to overlap. Why? And this is depending on the font as well. See right here where it's getting close. It's not really gotten in on it yet. But then here, it's not done it at all. But you can see here and here, it's starting to melt together, and it doesn't look good. So you want to make sure that you do that. Now you can double click, and then double click, and you can go in and adjust the kerning on that so that it See, that fixed that. You can go in and work on it, and you're not stuck with it. You don't have to do this all over again because you had enough sense to make it a smart object. So like right here, you just look at how the letters interact with one another. That's not what I wanted to do. And yep, here's another instance here. And so you can make the lettering work with each other much better. Save. Save. And everything melded together and looks much better than before. See, there's no instances where it's eating in on itself or you have some kind of pixel distortion or something like that. And there's your multiple stroke on editable text. That's it for this week. I'm James George, and this is Creative Beacon.